design?
I mostly work with kids who are either running away, not going to school, or that they have mental health problems that are maybe creating conflict in their family. They're not getting along with parents. So, yeah, those are the kind of cases I get.
Has a kid ever had to go to a program for drug usage? If so, can you explain what the program is like?
Yes. Usually, if we suspect kids are using chemicals or have an addiction problem, they have to do what's called a Rule 25, which is a chemical health assessment. And there are different providers that do those. Canvas Health does them, Nystrom, Anthony Lewis Center does chemical health assessments. And then that person, the specialist, will recommend some sort of level of treatment, whether it's maybe just a class. If it's minor use, it might be outpatient treatment, or sometimes it's inpatient. And inpatient, I've had kids go to a lot of different programs, like Fairview has one, Anthony Lewis has one, there's Omegon Treatment Center. There's a bunch of them across the state that we use.
Do you think schools or parents need to be more aware of drug use?
Yeah, sometimes parents don't really know what's going on.
Do you know what Juuls are?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you know what Juuls are?
Juuls?
Yeah.
No.
They're like a flash drive, but it's like a cigarette. But it looks like a flash drive, so it's like kids could be more slick with like doing it in the bathrooms and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we're not aware of all the chemical use
Yeah.
going on. No, we don't know what's, unless a kid makes a bad choice and they get caught with it, or they get arrested, or they come high to school, or, they come home high. Yeah, that's when, it gets our attention.
What do you think parents can do to stop their kids from misbehaving?
Misbehaving?
Yeah.
Well, be consistent, have firm, rules, household rules, curfew. They should know their kids' passwords, to kind of look if if they suspect kids aren't where they're supposed to be, or, what they're supposed to be doing. They should be able to look at their phone, and see what's going on, or their Facebook or Snapchat or whatever, to kind of, see what's going on. Because, yeah, I think parents don't really know what's going on most of the time.
What was the most frustrating or annoying case you've had?
Most annoying case?
Or frustrating, yeah.
Probably a case where a kid just keeps getting kicked out of treatment or placements because of they're acting out, they're getting aggressive, they're not following the rules, and so then trying to find a good fit for that client. So what is going to help? What can we do? That's really frustrating for social workers.
What happens to kids when they don't go in the right direction or fix their problem?
If they're on probation, because some of my kids are on probation, I violate their probation, I bring them back in front of a judge, and they have a consequence like community service. Sometimes they have to be placed out of the home, like in a shelter program or some sort of a treatment program. Sometimes they're fined, sometimes we take away their license, I take away their phone, their gaming devices. We don't like to give consequences, but sometimes if they're not getting kids' attention and they're making the same poor choices, we have to intervene in ways like that.
Yeah. Have you had a case where the child is removed from their home, and if so, can you explain what happened?
Yes, unfortunately, half my caseload kids are removed from their home.
Like permanently?
Sometimes permanently, not always. I mean, the goal is always to get kids back in their home with with their parents or caregivers, but for different reasons, whether it's the parent is maybe abusing chemicals or being neglectful or abusive. Sometimes it's the kid that is aggressive, abusive, using, running away, not going to school. Yeah, sometimes we have to place kids in either a residential treatment center, a shelter setting, or sometimes in foster care.
How often do you see kids fix their problems or go in the right direction?
I see that a lot. I see, once they realize that they have to make changes, or they're not gonna be able to return home, or they're not gonna get their privileges back, then I do see kids turn things around. And sometimes it takes a while, but yeah, definitely I see kids become successful again.
What is that like typical kid like in your cases? Like how do they act?
Typical kid. Well, at first, when I start working with kids, they can be pretty disrespectful and rude, or they can just not care and just keep, whatever, not going to school, running away, using chemicals. But then eventually, if we kind of get them into the right program or the right services, or sometimes it's having like a family therapist in their home, working, if they're in the home, working with them and their parents, then I see it becomes more positive, our interactions with kids. And sometimes they even appreciate social workers, because we are there to advocate for them and be a support. It's just at first, our interventions seem kind of punitive, or like we're giving them consequences, when the goal is to really support them and help them get back on track.
Yeah. How often do the kids have divorced parents or have had like some sort of traumatizing family event?
I'd say that's pretty common in most of my cases. Most are single parent families, and a lot of kids that have experienced trauma, such as domestic abuse from between parents. So a lot of trauma in the cases I work with.
Do parents or the kids seem more careless in your cases?
Probably the kids are the ones that are, acting out or having behavior problems. But, a lot of times too, parents haven't made maybe the best choices, or maybe have been a little neglectful, or they're not listening to kids or paying attention, and kids are off doing kind of destructive things. But I get involved when the kids are not doing well, obviously, and that's kind of my caseload. There are other social workers where it's definitely the parents are being neglectful, abusive with younger kids. My caseload are teenagers, so I'm seeing behavior problems with teens, but other social workers will work with parents who have younger kids, and the parents are the ones that are using drugs and making bad choices.
All right, my last question is, why do you think kids act like this? Like, what is the most common reason, like, kids act out of control? Is it like, do you think it's like social media or like video games getting violent or something like that? Or like rap music and stuff like that?
I think kids sometimes get on a self-destructive path, whether they're, and maybe they don't feel, loved or supported, or they feel abandoned, or maybe they're struggling with school, so they kind of give up and they, truant, they don't want to go to school, or they're, maybe one parent is absent, and they feel abandoned by that parent. So then maybe they use chemicals, or they run away, or they're disrespectful to the other parent. it's, at least my caseload, I don't think it's, video games or,